I didn't explain. I printed the item, and I'll have to Okay, thanks. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, I did. I won't do it, and I got like I'm walking in at like 10:01, and I was like, sorry, I'm sorry, anytime soon. And I get in there, everything's broken. I'm still a 5-year-old. I still do 2 steps at a time. When you're only like one, like maybe a second, it's not that big a deal. I was like 10. Okay, I gotta pace this.
But you went up.
I did.
As much at prompts. So
No, like at home, like when I'm going upstairs, I'll do 2 steps. Just I don't know. I just one step is like feels itty bitty to me.
I don't know. I'm 5'1". Yeah, I'm 5'1". One step is like 3 steps. Just saying. Way to rub it in.
All right, good afternoon. We're going to get started. I will now reconvene the City Council meeting of Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Campbell. Here. Councilmember Whitburn.
Here.
Councilmember Foster.
Here.
Councilmember Von Wilpert. Council President Pro Tem Lee. Councilmember Campillo.
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Present.
Councilmember Elo Rivera. And Council President LaCava.
Present.
Also attending the meeting are Assistant City Attorney Leslie Fitzgerald, Independent Budget Analyst Charles Modica, Council Affairs Advisor in the Mayor's Office, Coda Zeiser, and myself, your Deputy City Clerk, Kevin Smith.
All right, thank you for that. A quorum is now present. While the technical issues in council chambers look like they're very, very close to being resolved, we decided to take this, or I decided to take the safer course. We know this works. It went very well this morning. And again, thank you to the city clerk's work, IT, and everybody, my colleagues and the public's flexibility to move us into the committee room and get on with this morning's business. With that, we also have a change of order for this afternoon. We will start with item 333. We will hear the staff presentation and public comment for that item, and then we will trail item 333 after the public hearing is concluded. We will then hear item 330. After that is concluded, we will come back for item 333 to hear the tabulation of any protests and proceed with council member comments, questions, and entertain a motion. With that, Deputy Clerk, please introduce item 333.
Item 333 is collection of solid waste management fee on county tax roll. 6 votes are required pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 5473.
All right, we will now open the noticed public hearing to consider whether to adopt the written report identifying the parcels receiving city-provided solid waste management services and the solid waste management fees for each parcel for the upcoming tax year. If the report is adopted, the solid waste management fees listed in the report will be collected on the 2026-2027 county tax roll in the same manner by the same persons at the same time as, together with, and not separate from, the general taxes. If you're an affected property owners and have a written protest that you want to submit, please bring it to the front where speaker slips are submitted. And if you wish to register a protest as part of your comments, please state your name and address for the record. Both oral and written protests will be accepted, including protests received virtually. The public hearing will conclude at the end of all public testimony. And as stated earlier, we will then trail this item and move on to item 330 to allow the clerk to tabulate the protest from affected property owners. With that, staff, please introduce yourselves for the record and let us know how much time you need for your presentation.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Jeremy Bauer. I'm Assistant Director of Environmental Services Department. I'm joined today with Deputy Director Sarah Sims. We request 10 minutes. Please.
All right, when you're ready.
So today's action, we'll talk quickly about the background, following the description of the proposed action, talk about today's meeting, the proposed hearing, and how it was noticed. We'll discuss how the fees were calculated for those that are in the report that will be presented and considered by City Council. We'll remind the department's benefits of tax rebilling that we had identified last year and continue to hold today, and then timeline of next steps. So on the proposed action, just for the record, I want to note that yesterday we did update the description of the proposed action in the staff report. It had referenced the fiscal year as fiscal year 2006-2007, and just to conform with how the city typically refers to fiscal years, we corrected it to match what's on the screen, fiscal year 2027. So the item today, as Council President explained, is for Council to consider a report of a list of the properties that receive solid waste management services from the City of San Diego and the amount of fee to be charged for the solid waste management fee for fiscal year 2027. As background, last June, after the fee was adopted by City Council, Environmental Services Department returned to City Council to receive authorization to collect that fee on the county tax roll. The city then submitted a report to county of the list of properties and the amount of the fee. And then as the county collects the fee, it remits revenue to the city each month as that revenue is received from the county, from customers to the county. Typically comes in two bulk areas of revenue around November, December, and between February and April, corresponding when the majority of customers pay their property taxes. So today's action is to request Council to adopt the report for fiscal year 27, and as Council President noted, this requires a 2/3 majority to pass. A public hearing notice was published on June 8th and filed with the City Clerk. The City Clerk website includes the report of the properties. We also, on the daily transcript, we advertised notice of today's meeting and availability of the report, as well as how to protest and how to be present for this meeting. And then the report, if adopted by City Council today, Environmental Services Department by August 10th will submit that report to the county, which will then allow us to collect the revenue in the coming year. This slide just shows an image of the notice that was published with the daily transcript, including a description of today's hearing, the time and location, the health and safety code citation, contact information, and information on how the city considers protests. This slide shows the headings of the report. So the first column is the individual ID for each property, the assessor's parcel number. The second column is the baseline fee for each property, so corresponding to the service level that that property has. So for example, if a property has the 35-gallon trash container package, it would show $403.92, corresponding to the baseline rate for that service package. The next four columns show potential credits that that property might have earned in this current fiscal year. So for example, if a property ordered a 35-gallon package, the smallest container this year we're in right now, and they received that in January, the 35-gallon package is $10.78 less than the 95-gallon. So the math would be 6 months times $10.78. So that would show negative $64.68. So demonstrating a credit of $64.68 for the difference in the fee. Similarly, the next column shows financial assistance received. So if a property was eligible for financial assistance, in this case, it might show negative $201.96, corresponding to that credit for assistance. The next column just says other adjustments. That's a catch-all. We don't have any other adjustments, but we included that in case there were other adjustments to account for. And then the next column is the total of all the credits. So in this case, for the example I just described, it would be $64.68 plus $201.96. So it would show a total credit of $266.64. The next several columns show debits or additional charges. So if, for example, a customer received a second trash container in January, in this fiscal year, a second trash container costs $17.78 per month. If they received that in January, the math would be 6 times $17.78. So this customer would show a debit of $106.68. Assume as well, for example, that this customer pledged to donate $100 towards the financial assistance program. In that case, the column for financial assistance donation would show $100. So in this example, if you summed those two, the total would show $206.68. The final column on the right is the net. So it would show whatever the baseline fee was for the customer, minus any credits, plus any additional charges or debits, and that would be the amount to be charged to the customer. Just want to note that although this may sound complicated, the portal was designed to track the delivery dates of containers and to export the report in an easy manner for staff. This slide shows in text form what I just described on how the fees were calculated in the report. I'll also note that customers can view the fee breakdown on their portal account, if they have a portal account, at wasteportal.sandiego.gov. If they don't have a portal account, they can call our call center, the number listed on the slide, 858-694-7000, and our call center staff have access to the background data and can describe the math that goes into the charge for each property. This slide just recaps the rationale why staff proposed tax roll billing initially. We had estimated that standing up a new billing department would cost a significant sum of money, and the cost of that program would have been incorporated into the overall fee that went to customers. By taking another path, that savings has been passed on to the customers. Tax roll billing is also convenient for customers. They're already paying the property tax bill anyway, so this is one less bill to track. It's easier for the city. We have no need to track tenants coming and going. The customer is the property owner. There is a strong payment compliance. As of last week, 98.48% of customers have paid their property tax bill. We have a couple more weeks left in the fiscal year. Typically, the city budgets with an assumption of 98.8, 98.9, so we'll be able to see in the coming weeks whether this year is on track with prior years or if there's any difference. And the cost to the city for the county to send out the bills, collect the revenue, and do any follow-up with customers costs us around $22,500 per year for the county to take care of all of that. And this last slide just shows a summary of the timeline. So on June 8th, as I noted, we noticed the action today, the report today being available. The hearing is taking place as we speak. And then by August 10th, if council adopts the fee, we will provide the report to the county, which will then allow us to collect this revenue in the coming fiscal year. And then in the fall, customers can expect to see the fee on their property tax bills. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. So with that, we will go to public comment. And as a friendly reminder, to issue a protest, you must actually be a customer of the City of San Diego's trash collection system. So Deputy Clerk, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you, Council President. The public comment period for this item is now open. I would like to remind everyone that if you are an affected property owner and wish to submit a protest against adoption of the written report identifying solid waste management fees to be collected on the 2026-2027 tax roll, you must do so prior to the close of the public hearing. Both of all protests asserted during the public comment and written protests that are received by the clerk before the hearing is closed will be counted. If you are in chambers, please submit your speaker slip on top of the box at the front of the room. If you are watching on City TV or the live stream online and would like to call into the meeting to speak, please call 1-669-254-5252. When prompted, input webinar ID 160-943-0466. If you are joining us virtually, please raise your hand to speak by tapping the raise your hand icon, or if you are a call-in participant, *9. We will begin with in-person comment. Max Schmidt, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, I wanted to be a voice for all property owners in San Diego who could not come to this meeting to say that the property taxes are too high, and that for there to be this additional fee on the property taxes, I think a lot of property owners obviously don't want this fee. I know many people, I know that might be the minority of people, because I do believe in fair elections, and I believe that there's many liberals in San Diego who believe that city council knows how to spend their money better than they do, so maybe they support the fee. However, I do know that there is a voice of resistance in San Diego who thinks the property taxes are too high. I, for one, am homeless, so I don't have property, so it doesn't really account for me. And I also wanted to be a voice for Catholics, where I think many Catholics would be against an added property tax fee to go to the city of San Diego because of the Catholic genocide going on. I think that until the city of San Diego addresses the underground hidden Catholic genocide, I believe many Catholic property owners in San Diego would be against an extra, an increase in property tax. And the reason I think that is because the genocide's real. Catholics are being killed. They're being surrounded by people speaking gibberish, and to the point they're driven completely insane. And it's become a serious problem and needs to be addressed.
Thank you for your comments. Allegedly, Audra?
I guess I wonder how many times we're going to go down this path. I mean, what was Proposition 218 put in place for? And we just had a lawsuit for $1 million to get you guys to change what is happening, and here we are again saying that you want people, property owners, to come and protest. Are you going to honor Prop 218, or are we going to go down the path again to potentially engage in litigation and cost the city, really the people, $1 million more, or potentially more than that, because you are not engaging in this work properly? The way that you talk about, strong payment compliance. Well, I mean, when you're set to lose your house, if you do not pay this bill, I mean, of course you're going to force compliance. But when you talk about making it easier and cheaper and convenient to put it on a tax roll, that is very negligent, because that's not true. You're actually setting people up to lose their property. And when nobody knows about you guys, it's like this room is filled with your staff and a couple of people who, care about what's going on in the community around us. But when you have people who are working right now trying to make ends meet, and you're expecting them to come and protest a new tax bill, just kind of wondering why we continue to do these things. That is insanity, when you continue to try and stick a square peg into a round hole and expect people to, most people don't pay attention, but you will have people that will come against you in litigation, and it's not fair to the people to make us do that in order for you guys to follow the law. You expect us to, and so I think that you should be held to the same standard.
Thank you. That does conclude in-person public comment. I've started the 5-minute timer in the committee room, and we'll now turn to the virtual queue, in which there are currently 2 participants requesting to speak. Hector, please begin your comments.
All right, thanks. For building trust in the community, this is not like when the get-go of this thing was not really documented trust to the community. But the way to collect the fees, I disagree with this. I don't have a house, I got a condo, so we get trash pickup private. And then let's see, it is weird there's no one even there to protest. They probably don't even know about it if you send them a message. I think you should just trust the people to send their money in every month. Just trust the public to send you a check every month instead of taking out your property tax, which is just, that's not right, to do that. And anyway, who gets the spread? Say your check clears your property tax like a week ago, and then the property tax is due like next week, and then who gets the spread from the actual money being in the bank so the money comes to the city? It probably doesn't go directly to the city for a while, so does the city get the spread? That's the whole banking system is into the spread. Whoever makes that holding the money for 7 days is worth something. That's a lot of money that's going to somewhere. I was just wondering, do you guys know who gets the spread? Does the county get it while they're sitting on all the cash before they give it to you? Or do you when they pay your taxes, you don't get the money that same day? So I just wondered who's getting the spread, and you might want to tell us, or if you know that, who's getting the spread. That's one of my questions, and then good luck with the trash thing too. That's my thing.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is a caller with the last four digits 8700. Please begin.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes, right, Deputy City Clerk?
That's correct.
Thank you so much. Joy Asanyata. First of all, yes to trash collection system. I think I heard this correctly. The county is going to keep $22,000 per year out of those fees in order to process them on their tax rolls. That surprised me. I wish it was zero. So thank you for the presentation, DSD, and thank you to ESD for all your work on this matter, especially thank you to Kirby Brady, the director. Now, for me, this process really was lessons learned. I learned a lot. You know, I was aboard right from the beginning. I don't know how many years ago that was, and I just have learned a lot. And after the give and take on both sides that we came to this place, I support the adjusted lower fee schedule. Now, I want to say this, dear homeowners, I've never been a homeowner. I wish that would have happened to me. It wasn't in the cards. But anyway, dear homeowners, please don't protest this. I'm trying to get inside your pocketbook, inside the quality of your life, and you know, I can't in reality. But I just ask that we need your help. We need you just to jump on board and to help us through this big crisis of deficits and so forth. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all doing our best. So, dear homeowners on all sides, please do not protest. Please participate in our government and make it work for all of us together at the same family table. So thank you for listening and love to all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony. Please begin your comments. Tony, we can't quite hear you. Can you speak up or turn up your volume, please? Tony, we cannot hear you. We will have to move on.
Weird.
Council President, that concludes public
Bless you.
comment on this item.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Clerk. With that, the public hearing is now closed. And as previously noted, we will trail this item while protests are being tabulated and move on to item 330. The protest will be read into the record after item 330 concludes, and we will take council member comments, questions, and entertain a motion at that time. So with that, Deputy Clerk, please introduce item 330.
Item 330 is City Provided Residential Solid Waste Management Services Implementation Update.
All right, please introduce yourselves again for the record and let us know how much time you need for this item.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, Council members. My name is Jeremy Bauer, Assistant Director, Environmental Services Department. I'm joined with Sarah Sims, our Deputy Director. May I please have up to 15 minutes for this item?
All right, when you're ready.
Great, so today's item is to provide an update on the implementation activities Environmental Services Department has been up to since last June when the solid waste management fee was adopted. We'll provide a quick update on the background. We'll discuss the container rollout, the customer portal. We'll talk about the financial assistance program, the outreach and engagement activities we've undertaken, upcoming program development, the fund outlook, and next steps. So as a background, under the city ordinance, city forces are obligated to provide trash and recycling services to eligible customers in the city of San Diego. The city ordinance specifies that this work be done by employees of the city of San Diego, and it clarifies who's eligible, namely residential properties with one of up to 4 properties on a single lot that meet city requirements for city service. Measure B, when it was adopted by voters in 2022, it removed a longstanding prohibition that had been in place that prevented the city from recovering the cost to provide this service. Following a year of outreach and engagement and a cost of service study, we presented for City Council considerations last June a fee to recover those costs. City Council adopted that fee on June 9, 2025, and then a couple of weeks after that authorized the city to collect the fee on the county tax roll. Before the adoption of that fee, the services were primarily covered by the general fund. Now they're largely covered by the fee. As well, I'll note in this presentation that on June 8th, the City Council authorized a settlement agreement which reduces the previously adopted fee for fiscal year 28 and 29. That action did not change the fee for the current year, nor did it change the fee for next year. So on the container rollout, I'll take the opportunity to remind the rationale for replacing the containers. The new fee is based on the size of the trash container and the total number of containers on the property. The new containers, recognizing that the city did not have great data on the number of containers at each property, we didn't have sufficient accuracy or precision to be able to know how many containers were out there, and to be able to ensure customer verification that we were only providing service to eligible customers and that we were providing service at the level selected by the customer. Also recognizing that so many of the containers out there were well beyond their useful life, we did make the determination that the most effective way to validate our customers and their service level was to provide new containers, new trash and recycling containers. Importantly, we involved in this process collecting the old containers to recycle them to ensure that that material is available to make new plastic products, including buckets, pallets, or even new trash containers. I will also note that we are not doing a comprehensive replacement of the green organics containers, as those are quite new, but those customers that are changing their organic service level or have the legacy yard waste containers, they will receive a new green container. This slide shows a visual representation of the progress of the rollout. You'll see the bar graphs on the left, the progress on the gray container rollout. We started in October and essentially completed that process in May. As of, there's a less than 0.5% or so of data verification for some of the gray containers, but essentially it's complete at 259,000 containers to nearly 225,000 customers at this point. And as I mentioned, we're verifying data for the remaining. The blue containers, we're at nearly 60% rollout. You see that the teal shows the actual, and the blue shows the anticipated progress. It's scheduled to be complete by the end of September. The customer portal we launched in July of last year. It's a way for customers to engage in self-service, to select their containers, to track their service levels, track their billing history, and also to sign up for text message alerts or email alerts. Over 123,000 customers have created portal accounts, about 55%. We designed it to be optional. We know some customers prefer to speak on the phone, and that remains an option. It also allows customers to pledge donations. And as of this week, around $63,000 have been raised by customers who not only are paying the fee for the first time, but pledge to donate money to the financial assistance program to help their neighbors. I'll also note that customers can create a portal account at any time. They have benefits to doing so. The website, sandiego.gov/trash, has a 1, 2, 3 step process for how they can create an account. And by doing so, again, they have the benefits of the ability to self-service for container replacement, repairs, tracking service, or to view their history. So the financial assistance program, I really want to describe this as a success story. Throughout the outreach and engagement, we heard concerns from residents about paying a fee for the very first time, and we reassured them that we are working on developing a financial assistance program to help those who would be most in need. So it was very meaningful for us that City Council included in the budget for ESD funding to launch this program. In January, we partnered with the Metropolitan Area Advisory Committee on Anti-Poverty of San Diego County, also known as MAC, a local nonprofit. And I'm pleased to share that a couple of representatives from MAC are here with us today in the chamber. The program was designed based on either household income, if customers meet income requirements, or as a proxy, if a member of the household is enrolled in an existing assistance program, including Medi-Cal, CalFresh, CalWorks, or the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. If they apply, they could be deemed they could qualify for the assistance program. The assistance amount was set at 50% off of the solid waste management fee, or recognizing concerns around charging on the tax roll, we added an additional criterion. If a household was enrolled in a payment plan for past due property taxes, which is an indicator of past inability to pay their property taxes, they would qualify for a full 100% subsidy. And as of this week, two customers have met both criteria, so we have made use of both the 50% off assistance as well as the 100% subsidy. I'll note for fiscal year 26 assistance, we had set a deadline of April 30th, and MAC is currently going through the 4,000 applications that were received. We're still accepting applications now through next April 30th for assistance towards the fiscal year 27 fee. And I'll note that as of now, of the approximately 4,000 applications received, around 2,400 have been fully approved, and MAC is busy working through the remainder. Some things to look forward to for next year with the program. As I noted, in addition to this program remains in our budget. In addition to the budgeted amount from the general fund, we're also counting on the $64,000 in donations from customers. We've also, based on feedback from the community, we've added an additional proxy criterion. If a household member is enrolled in the SDG&E CARE program, they would also qualify for our program. MAC will also be updating the income requirements to $2027. We've also streamlined re-enrollment based on feedback. If a customer is eligible 1 year, they would qualify for a second year, assuming it's still the same property owner. Similarly, if they apply for the first time in 2027, they would have a streamlined qualification for the year after that. For applications that are approved before August 10th, they will see their reduction applied proactively to the bill that they see on their property tax bill. After August 10th, assuming funding remains, we will continue to accept applications on a rolling basis, and at that point, the payments will be provided as a rebate. MAP will continue to hold clinics, in-person clinics, to assist customers on how to enroll, how to apply for the program, and the program will continue to be first come, first served. I'll note that the funding for the program had capacity for 7,000 customers. We had 4,000 applications this year, so we did have capacity to fully cover the number of applications. We continue to spread the word about the program, and we believe through word of mouth and social media and targeted outreach, more people will become aware. We continue to believe that the existing capacity is enough to meet the need of people who will apply. With that said, we are receiving weekly updates from MAC, and as we get the data, if we need to revisit or pivot, we will be able to do so. Outreach and engagement. MAC, I mentioned, has done, at this point, 15 in-person clinics last fiscal year, before April 30th, and 7 more since April 30th. For our part, it's been important to us to continue to be available and present in the community to give updates similar to what you're hearing in this presentation, talk about financial assistance, and answer questions face to face. I've seen many of your staff, I've seen some of you in person yourselves as well at these meetings, and we continue to be available to do so. As of now, we've done about 25 of these meetings with community planning group meetings, town councils, and others. We talk about the container rollout, financial assistance, and we answer their questions. So what's coming up? With the adoption of the reduced fees for fiscal year 28 and 29, as we get out in the community, we'll continue to amplify that decision and what it means for the timing of the reduced fees and what it means with regard to weekly the previous plans for weekly recycling and previous plans for the bulky item program. We'll also continue to emphasize that the plan was always, when we delivered the new containers, to ultimately phase out collection from the old black containers and the old dark blue containers. So we'll continue to communicate on that, as well as customers who need additional containers, engaging with them so they know how to do so, whether it's ordering more, or for those who have determined they don't need as much capacity, how to downsize, which could result in a reduced fee for them going forward, as well as emphasizing the availability of the financial assistance program. Our code compliance officers, when they observe overflowing containers, they will be engaging with customers, leaving behind literature so customers know how to order a second container, as well as if they continue to see the lingering black containers, to remove those and engage with the customers, so if they need to order another gray one, they know how to do so. We mentioned last June that all of the new containers are equipped with RFID readers. We are working on the next stages of a pilot to test the technology of the hardware that will be attached to the trucks. And that hardware, when installed, would allow us to collect operational data to improve services over time, as well as to identify containers that are not where they are supposed to be. That's not the purpose of today's item, but you can look forward to an item in the coming weeks or so on that item. The fee schedule, I won't go into too much detail. We presented this a couple weeks ago, but I'll just highlight for those present. The second column are the fees that go into effect July 1, 2026 of this year. You can see they are about $1 more for the 3 main bundles. But then I'll emphasize the latter 2 columns. Those are the newly adopted reduced fees for fiscal year 28 and fiscal year 29. And one thing in particular I want to emphasize is because the reduced fees are heavily subsidized by the recycling fund, the fee for an additional recycling bin for fiscal year 28 goes down to $6.01 per month for that fiscal year, and then $6.56 per month for the following fiscal year. This is important to note, as some customers may have ordered fewer recycling containers anticipating weekly recycling, so I wanted to be sure to amplify the subsidized rate for a second recycling container. This next slide as well, we presented a couple weeks ago, the adoption of the reduced fees. I'll just note a couple things. One, the second row shows the rate revenue. So looking at the third column, you see the rate revenue goes down significantly when the fees are reduced. The next 2 rows show the subsidies. So you see the estimated subsidies from the recycling fund, and then the next row, the subsidies from the general fund. I'll note these are estimates. They will ultimately be subject to the budgeting process and actual expenditures and revenues leading up to those years. And then lastly, the fund balance. You can see that one of the anticipated changes we made to our operation based on the reduced fees is not funding to build up our fund balance. So you see we remain in a negative position through the 4-year period. So next steps is following up the latter part of the hearing on the adoption of the report for the property tax bill. Following this item, between now and August 10th, MAC will continue to review applications for fiscal year 27 assistance for those who will see the assistance in the form of a credit on their tax bill. And then after August 10th, they'll continue to review applications for rebate style. And then by August 10th, if City Council adopts the report today, by August 10th, we'll submit the report to the county. And then between May and the September, we'll continue the rollout of the new recycling containers. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
All right, thank you for the work and the presentation. Deputy Clerk, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you, Council President. We will begin with in-person public comment. Max Schmidt. Please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, I just wanted to say that increasing the fees, increase for the monthly fees that homeowners pay for their trash and recycling services, to me seems unnecessary. I believe that homeowners should not have to pay such high fees for trash and recycling. I believe that if the government was cut out of the situation and the homeowner could pay the trash or recycling company directly, it could be cheaper, and that I think that property taxes could go down, and I think property taxes are too high for people, and I do not support giving the city of San Diego any more money. And it has to do with many reasons. And one is because of the underground hidden Catholic genocide that hasn't been addressed. And I just also wanted to say that there's a one of the slides and to raise fees says that the recycled containers are going to be repurposed into other plastic products, and they tried to make an environmental issue. And I just wanted to say there seems to be a connection in random tax increases and trying to help the environment, where it seems like an age-old liberal strategy, straight out of the liberal playbook, to throw in some slides about the environment when they when they try to increase taxes. I want to say this tax increase on property is a big deal, and that I don't think the climate should be used as a scapegoat to tax people more. And I will honestly say that I believe that Satan may be telling liberals to exaggerate the climate to try to tax people more.
Thank you. That does conclude your time. Allegedly, Audra.
It definitely will use the climate to tax people more. This is interesting. Why does the negative balance get smaller to 2029? That's interesting. I don't know if I'm reading it right. And then saying there will be reductions through that year. I mean, really? Because I feel like you guys are going to come back to us for more money at some point because it's not going to be enough. And again, you talk about people receiving trash cans. No, they're paying for them. Let's be real. They're forced to pay for those even if they don't need them. And the fact that you're saying you're going to recycle them, I mean, we'll see about that. I'm sure that's another racket that's going to be, engaged in. Because, I mean, anything you can make money off of, people are like jumping on that. So I guess I was a little confused as well about Prop 218. Unfortunately, I guess it's like you guys can sit here and raise the fee as much as you want. And as long as nobody's here to protest, it doesn't matter. So it's like, so many loopholes that, get taken advantage of when people are, having to pay more money. And these RFID chips, I mean, come on, you're like, we're collecting data. I mean, the amount of data that's collected on people is just so insane, especially when these data centers, like they're going to be taking all our fresh water. How cool is that? I mean, are you guys excited for us to figure out how AI is going to provide us with more water? Probably. That'll be neat. But yeah, this is very sad because people should have the ability to say what they want as far as the tax goes, and yet here we are again. You're not going to have enough protests, and so this is going to move forward. And I'd like to know, I mean, what are you doing, because this was $1 million lawsuit that made you reduce the fee? Are you going to give people a credit for what they paid in the interim of, you know, your mistake?
Thank you. That does conclude your time. That concludes in-person public comment. I have started the 5-minute timer in the committee room. We will now turn to the virtual queue, in which there are currently 3 participants requesting to speak. We will begin with Hector. Please begin.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, this is another example of the city not knowing what's going on, where there was 2,500 people getting their trash picked up that shouldn't have got it done. So where they just found that out when they started doing the cans, they're picking up some guy's apartment that should have had a commercial guy doing it. So this is probably not the only thing. There's other places in the city where they're giving out free services, or they're giving out special deals to people that no one knows about yet. But this is another example. And then to set the record straight, to build trust in the community, why don't you pull all the parking meters at Balboa Park now, so we can have free parking over the summer to go to Balboa Park and stuff? That would be like, show us a good sign of, for building trust in the community. Just apologize to everybody for putting them through hell. And you want to turn over a new leaf and go for it. And then, let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to do. Yeah, you're going to charge them for the solid waste. We got to get a solid waste factory down at the Tijuana River and do some waste removal down there. And I think that the city should focus on the Tijuana River sewer plant upgrades, big time upgrade down there with solar. Use some of that recycled stuff down there that absorb all the sewer gas and everything. Anyway, it's gonna be a good summer. It's gonna be hot, and that stuff's gonna smell terrible to the kids. So that should be our #1 focus. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker. Caller with the last 4 digits, 8700. Please begin.
Thank you, Joy Sunyata. I just have a batch of odds and ends. Thank you for the update, ESD. Very, very good update. Thank you also for a great financial assistance program that you've been rolling out. It sounds very successful, still available, and just thank you so much. I appreciate the recycling of the containers. I thank you for improved alignment. Thank you, everybody, for improved alignment with Measure B. And a question for you, ESD. Would you and Director Kirby Brady discuss adding qualitative data to the metrics? That would be really super for you to explore that innovative idea. It's not really innovative, it's being used throughout a lot of different areas in government, in business, and so forth. So let's see, what is it? We can always improve customer relations, right? Community outreach and engagement. So any efforts that you can improve to make those better would be absolutely super duper. Love the customer donations. Thank you, customers. Whoever you are, you get 5 stars. I think it's up to $67,000. So thank you. And thank you, SDG&E. I mean, I don't get it, but if there's an opportunity to thank them for caring about the community, let's do it. So their care program, I guess, can be added to if they qualify for our programs, that program can be added to it. So I feel really, really good, and I want to be sure and thank them for any little steps, big steps. We want some big steps, SDG&E, but thank you for that. And again, this is a great item. We've made great progress. Lessons
That does
learned go
conclude your
to
time.
all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony. Please begin your comments. Tony, please unmute and begin your comments.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please begin.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, I am in support of this measure. I think that it's necessary. I think we need to have some type of trash service. I would love to see us putting in more of an effort to create some compost stations. I know that we do have like green compost at some areas, like the Mira Mesa landfill, for example, but I know that we don't have any actual compost landfills that are designed for like biodegradable plates and cups and utensils and things like that. Or please correct me if I'm wrong. Whenever y'all respond to these comments, please let me know if there is a compostable site, because as far as I know, like when you pick up compostable plates or utensils or whatever, or even napkins, they all say on the packaging itself, they say it's only disposable or only compostable within compostable landfill facilities. I have not, I don't know of any that exist here in San Diego, and that would be a huge incentive for people within the sustainable community and for waste at large. If we can eliminate the mass amount of plastics that we're using, we would be so much better off. If we could create some type of ordinances requiring packaging on foods and on goods to use alternative methods of packaging, because I mean we've been beholden to the DuPont monopoly on plastics for far too long, and there's way too many alternatives that exist for packaging, including like hemp, which has been declassified. It's now available for commercial use. It's now not scheduled as like a narcotic as it previously was. As of 2019, the end of the first Trump administration was one of the things he did, oddly, on his way out, legalizing hemp, which was super cool and really unexpected.
Thank you.
Anyway,
That does conclude your time. Thank you. That concludes the public testimony on item 330.
All right, thank you, Deputy Clerk. A reminder, this is an information item, no motions required, but we'll turn it over to Council Member for questions and comments. And we'll start with Council Member Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Council President. Thanks for the presentation, Jeremy, and for all the work that led up to this. A couple questions. One, and this is for you and or Jordan, the fund balance that was shown there. What are the effects of that?
So when we, and thank you for the question, Council Member. When we cross the threshold of a fiscal year with a negative balance, we do have the ability to pay that enterprise fund a one-day loan to cross the threshold at a non-zero, and then the first day of the next fiscal year to pay it back. So there's an ability to cross the fiscal year with negative. Ultimately, as we adopted the fee last year, the goal was to build up a reserve fund. We are postponing that at this time, but long term, that is something we can revisit, and ultimately, we would want to be in a position with a positive balance. I turn it over to Jordan if you have more.
Yeah, I mean, it mostly starts to be a big budgeting problem if you have a lot of fund balances with a negative fund balance, which is why we typically try to highlight these things if we're seeing many of them. Jeremy's correct as far as ESD goes, because ESD also runs two other large enterprise funds. They currently are projected to have positive cash balances, so within ESD you will be fine. But again, it's not a good practice. The original cost of service did anticipate building up a reserve over a number of years in order to adjust to fluctuations that may or may not happen in between cost of service studies. But at this point right now, given where we are with the fees, the settlements, etc., the best course of action at this point is just to manage the fund where it is, because otherwise you would be requiring the general fund to be sending more money into the fund in order to try and get out of that negative fund balance quicker than what's currently projected.
Right. Okay.
And I'll note too, so originally, the plan was for the fund, and Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, it would have gotten out of negative balance around, what, year 2 or 3?
Correct.
Yeah, so there was a plan to get there, or those plans have just been changed.
At what point will it be a problem?
It would be a bigger problem if the fund balance was going the other way. So one of the reasons why you're actually seeing that going into it's going smaller is because a lot of that is the general fund paying back for costs that were incurred but not reimbursed in the first year. If it was getting larger, perpetually larger, that would be a problem that you would see, because then you don't have a plan at which there would be no plan in order to bring it back in, and at that point you would need to start taking financial actions to bring it back into positive balance, which would either require more general fund subsidies or higher fees in the subsequent cost of service study.
Thank you. We've talked about this a little bit, but I want to make sure I drill down just a little bit more. Some of the services that are provided or were planned to be provided are now, the plan is to scale back. Are there, and there's the services that residents kind of receive and experience as a result of those offerings, and then there's the diversion from our landfill, there's climate action goals that we're pursuing. Are there plans in place, or is there planning happening to pursue those goals, to reduce what ends up in the landfill in a different way than what we had planned for?
Yes, Councilmember, one example is investment of some of our recycling staff from our waste reduction division to be staffed at the landfill itself, at the gate, to help identify loads of waste that is heading towards the face of the landfill, but to engage with them to divert what's recyclable from that load. Additionally, as I mentioned in my remarks, additional outreach to help customers understand that the rate for a second recycling container is more affordable than it was last June. Make sure they know that, so if they need to order a second recycling container, they can do so at a subsidized rate.
Okay. I appreciate that. And the reason I keep asking about this part is, and we're going to continue to have conversations about this environment committee and hopefully at the full council level, is that the closure of the landfill it's not a small deal for the city. It's a really, really big one on a variety of fronts. And so I want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to push that out, or at least not accelerate the cliff that we're running toward. Is there anything that you are not planning to do, but you would like to be able to do that doesn't involve the weekly recycling or something that was already planned for? I don't know if that makes sense, but are there other strategies or tactics that are being considered as a way of, again, either pushing out the cliff or at least not accelerating our approach to the cliff?
Our Clean SD division helps with some of the community cleanup events. That is a general fund funded division, and so to the extent that that division had more funding available, they could be more available to do those community cleanups. And when our staff are directly involved in cleanup events, it's easier to divert, to segregate recyclable materials versus materials that are intended for the landfill itself.
And Jordan, just to kind of pivot to you, if you can, to reiterate to all of us, from a financial perspective, the impacts of Miramar closing sooner rather than later, or being able to push that out.
I mean, it's hard to quantify at this point. What I will tell you is so Miramar, as it stands right now, is the cheapest place to deposit solid waste, go to recycling, do those things. And the reason why it's the cheapest is because it's managed by the city, right? So this would be similar to, you know, if the city was able to manage its water as a wholesaler as opposed to having a different entity charge you different things. So to that end, if Miramar goes away as being the place where waste could go to be deposited, and the city does have to start going to other private landfills, which I believe it's only private landfills that are remaining in the county, at that point, you now have to pay either their disposal fees, which will make the cost for collection services go up, which will then require either higher fees on homeowners or additional general fund dollars. There's also the options to do the transfer station, but again, the transfer station, just because it's extra steps, it could be cheaper than the landfills directly, but it still will not be the same as just being able to utilize Miramar in the way it's currently being utilized.
And then there's the tipping fees that we won't.
Also, the tipping fee is what you, collection services, even though it's City of San Diego dumping at a City of San Diego site, pays to dump at the Miramar landfill.
I mean the tipping fees that we receive from other entities as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So those will come up. We'll have to figure out a way to run landfills, run other operations without receiving tipping fees, both from the City of San Diego and from outside entities as well, because there'll no longer be a landfill to operate.
Got it. I appreciate this. And I know we've talked about this a bit. I keep hammering this part because I think there was a perception that weekly recycling was a nice to have, and I suppose it was from the perspective of it's not something that the city needed to do today necessarily, and it's not necessarily something that residents all needed on a weekly basis, but it served a greater purpose that has significant environmental and economic impacts for the city over the long term. And so, as with everything that we deal with, there are no easy outs. And you know, not doing weekly recycling solves for one problem, and it creates others as well. And we just need to be eyes wide open about that. And I appreciate the creativity of ESD on how we're going to approach that. I think it's going to require a group effort. I remember a few years ago I'd asked the ways in which environmental services was kind of boxed in by not being able to recover cost. And I actually got a really interesting response to that question, which was, in certain ways, it requires ESD to be even more creative because the ability to recover cost just wasn't there. So it looks like you're leaning back into that creativity that we needed to use in the past, but that general fund still has is going to end up bearing significant costs, I think, as a result of this. Last thing I just want to say is thank you to Mac again for the outreach and the really intentional effort there to make sure that folks know about the rebate or the refund programs or the discount programs. That was very important to us. That was important to us before we ever got the program up and running, and will continue to be important to me as well. So thank you again for the work. Thank you for the time, Council President.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hilo Rivera. We'll go next to Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I want to start off by thanking the Environmental Services Department for the incredible work you guys do day in, day out. This past March, I had the pleasure of joining ESD staff for a ride-along during a trash pickup day in District 8, and the tour began at 8 a.m. At the Miramar Landfill Operations Station. Pretty impressive piece of work that we have there in the city of San Diego. I think the yard has the collection services division, the container management program, and the trash pickup for truck maintenance crews. We exited the operations station, and what really astounded me was the hundreds of trucks that are housed at this station. Just how everybody left it was almost like a beautiful symphony of trash trucks going out. And I was able to ride one of the trucks driven by Mr. Enrique Rojas, also known as Kiki. Mr. Rojas has been a sanitation worker for the city of San Diego for almost 40 years. And he was kind enough to share his experience with me as we drove south to the southern part of the district. And I think one of the things that I was just taken aback by is that these folks are really, sometimes for a lot of residents, their number one people, right? The number one person that they first connect with in the city of San Diego. The love and admiration from the kids was also really quite impressive, and Mr. Rojas just really went out of his way to accommodate every question, every comment. So just kudos to him, and I'm sure I was probably a thorn on his back for the morning, but nonetheless, it was quite the experience. We were in the community of Nestor, and unbeknownst to me, we were, for a time, we were being followed by another vehicle that was collecting the empty containers. So this allowed me to see firsthand just the complications of this rollout of just a massive scale. But it was impressive to see how, obviously they worked together and how complicated this endeavor was, truly complicated. My ride along ended with the Otay landfill in Chula Vista, and just the impressive work that goes there. I believe it's owned by Republic, if I'm not mistaken. So I was able to see firsthand what the ESD men and women do daily, and it's just incredible to witness the magnitude of work that happens behind the scenes of a service that I think often goes unnoticed. So I'm just extremely grateful to all ESD, everybody in ESD, because I know it's not just the folks picking up, like I said, it's like a symphony. It was grueling and it was demanding, but the one thing that it was very clear to me is it's something, like I said, that we don't think about, and thanks to you guys, we don't have to think about, and it's just so invaluable to the quality of life. I quickly understood if these men and women decide not to show up one day or even two, it would just be super detrimental to the city workers. So just wanted to say, recognize them and thank them for everything that they do. Moving on to the updates regarding the implementation. I want to note that this is obviously, it's important to me that residents receive access to financial aid. How many financial aid clinics have we held?
Still checking my notes. I believe it was 22, with 6 since the April 30th deadline for fiscal year 26 assistance, and they've continued after that. And we're currently coordinating with MAC to identify dates for additional clinics for the.
And these are in person, right? The 22?
They are in person.
Wonderful. And how many have been held in District 8?
I believe it was 4. It would double check my notes, but my recollection was it was 4.
Got you. And at what times have these clinics been held?
They've been approximately, again, based on memory, around 9:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, give or take.
And I do appreciate the effort that ESD has put to reaching out to the community. I am concerned regarding the times that we've chosen to hold these clinics, and this would be not a follow-up, but a critique, if you will. I represent a working class community where folks often have just more than one job, and I do find it problematic that these clinics are not being held past 5:30 or even on weekends when residents are more likely to attend. I'd also like to ask, given that the program can support approximately 7,000 customers and only 3,997 applications have been received, right? Not accepted, received.
That's correct.
What target outreach tactics are being considered for fiscal year 27 to increase the participation? And out of those, so that's one question. And the second question is, out of those 3,997, how many have been accepted?
So I'll take the last one first. So far, around 2,300 have been fully approved of the nearly 4,000. And thank you for the feedback on the timing. I'll note last year, one of the constraints with involvement of our staff is that the financial assistance program is general fund funded, and our program was funded by the ratepayers. Now that we'll be entering a subsidized program with general fund, we might have the opportunity to explore whether staff could become involved in either providing more assistance or even attending more clinics, something we can look into now that we're not 100%.
But we have, sorry, you made me think of another question. We have enough money for up to 7,000 folks.
That's correct.
So that isn't a question.
And on that note, on the targeted outreach, one item we've done is reached out to the county to see if there's any information they could share, either of those folks who may have in the past had inability to pay their property taxes on time. Also, if they'd be willing to pass along our information if they couldn't share the addresses directly. And then additionally, we've been coordinating with community-based organizations to invite them to pass along information on the program to the communities they serve and their networks.
Okay, and that's the tactic to get more folks to apply, or yeah, I guess at this point to just apply, right?
Yes, and the other thing I would note is one of the feedback we received in the first year was, rather than having people apply from scratch in the second year, can we streamline so that if they qualified for 1 year, if they remain the property owner of that property, have it be 2-year increments. And what that means is for the second year, we're not starting from zero. We're essentially starting from and then we can build from there.
2,300,
correct.
Which would be, okay. And there is an opening and a closing, right? When is the opening and closing of these applications?
For the fiscal year 27, for fiscal year 26, the program launched in January, and it was through April 30th. We are now starting May 1st through, we project next April 30th. And the reason for that, it gives us an ability to go through all of the applications received and then get through that queue and get the assistance out before the end of the fiscal year.
So it's currently open. The application process is currently open.
Correct.
Okay. And MAC is a provider, or a partner, I should say. What are we paying MAC to do this work?
The first fiscal year 26, it was approximately on the order of $500,000 for the year. For next fiscal year, again based on approximate memory, it's on the order of around $250,000. So part of the reason the first year was standing up the program and building the infrastructure.
So it's $500,000 to put on 15 clinics and to accept or deny the applications.
Correct.
And also to outreach for the applications.
That's correct.
Okay. What's the average wait time for financial assistance application?
So I can answer that question indirectly. They have been getting through around 100 to 200 applications a week. It's hard to give an exact average because a lot of the applications, if they're 100% complete, they have all the information, they can approve it very quickly. What they've been doing is if an application is missing information, they've been reaching out, calling the applicant, or calling and waiting them to call back to get missing information or corrected information. So depending on how responsive an applicant is, that could extend how long it would take.
We have 3,997 applications. So can you tell me how long? You probably can't tell me right now, but can you tell me the median wait time for the financial assistance application for maybe even say the 2,300? I guess we shouldn't only include that because they're also, so for the 3,897, if I could know how many, how long it takes, just on average, even not putting into consideration any variable, just this is what it's taking.
I would say multiple months. To give you an average, it would include the date that application was received and then the date. So we'd be looking at the individual factors for all 4,000. I can check with MAC. I'm not going to put them on the spot unless they need the answer.
No, I wouldn't want that. Even just an email, just so I could see.
Absolutely.
And I would ask staff and MAC also to factor in working family schedules. I mentioned that for the clinics, if they could start later in the day. Obviously, robust outreach for residents, consider senior citizens, especially the inability to attend some of the meetings, I think is going to be a factor. And also the fact that a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, 10% of the population in my district are, they exist within the digital divide. So they do not have access to any, smartphone, Wi-Fi. So really getting creative on how we outreach this program. So are residents able to walk into Max installations and receive information for the financial assistance program? I understand that their offices are in Chula Vista, but are we able to send a resident to the MAC facility to apply in Chula Vista?
They aren't staffed and set up to accept walk-in. The clinics are the primary approach, and so I thank you for the feedback on the timing of those events, and that's something we can look at for the coming years. We schedule those to make sure they're accessible.
Thank you. And so obviously, just to put it on the record, future clinics are being considered in other communities in addition to San Ysidro and Logan Heights, right? We're looking at Otay Mesa, Nestor, Egger. Just want to put that on the record. And I just have a few more, maybe a minute or two. Once again, it's important to me that residents in District 8 have the opportunity to easily participate in the financial assistance clinics provided by ESD. It's good to hear that you guys might jump in and get some of that intellectual property, right, that we're handing over to MAC. Thank you, MAC, by the way. We should make it easier rather than harder for folks to apply. And so that would be my concluding comments. But once again, just tremendous work that the men and women did out in ESD. It was truly phenomenal, and it was tough too. And I actually got to lift up a trash can, so that was really cool. So please thank Kiki and all of his. And I think we're working on a ride share. That's what came out of this conversation, is a ride share with Sandag. So it was a really fun time, and thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Moreno. We'll go next to Councilmember Campillo.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to our staff. Obviously, Environmental Services does an excellent and important job for making sure the public is safe and healthy and a million other things. We wanted to just get a sense of one of the issues in the staff report. It looks like the first RFID readers aren't working out, but we're going to a second one. Can you give us a little more information on that?
Yes. So we discussed last June that all the new containers come with the RFID readers themselves are in the containers, and that our plan was to test hardware through a pilot before we invested in installing on that hardware on our fleet of trucks. We did test one hardware. The detection rate and the versatility of the equipment was not sufficient in our perspective, to invest the money to buy 150 to 200 of those devices. In that sense, we see it as a successful pilot in that we were able to conclude something before purchasing. Rarig, the same vendor that makes the containers, we became aware also makes this hardware. So our next step is to test that hardware, and if and only if it also turns out to be successful scanning, meeting our acceptability goals, then at that point we would plan to invest in the equipment to install in the trucks.
Okay, understood. In terms of the second pilot that we see, have we already started testing that? It says early this summer.
So we have an item coming to council in the coming weeks or so to consider the contract vehicle that would allow us to buy the equipment.
Very good. Okay, what's the long-term plan? What's plan C if this one doesn't work? Because the RFID chips are important for us to be able to certify that we're charging people at the right location for the right amount of trash.
In general, if for some reason it wasn't getting the detected rate, we would look for there's other equipment, other vendors that we could also test.
Okay. Well, looking forward to seeing that item come to full council and making sure we get this to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Campillo. I don't see anybody else in the lights. I'll add my thanks, a good reminder that everything you're doing, you started from scratch and built, and fabulous job. And a lot of bumps along the way, but you navigated those and righted the ship and really delivered for us. A couple of questions kind of inspired by my colleagues that I wasn't really going to ask. So in the FY26 budget, we allocated money for this financial assistance. it sounds like we did not burn through that. Did we roll that over so we actually have more money in FY27, or do we still have the 3 million?
Yes, so the, for the contract administration, we simply wouldn't spend that. For the amount that was allocated for the assistance itself, we still have that. We're going through the nearly 4,000 applications, and depending on whether those, how many of those are fully approved, the remaining funding would first go to those. It would then roll over, and then when we review the applications for next year, we'd have that available. If funding is not used, then at that point, it would be available to return to the general fund.
Okay, in terms of expectations, the 2,300 that were approved, that would be a credit towards their FY26 cost that would show up in their FY27 bill?
So, no,
How does that work?
Thank you for the question, Council Member. So for those that have applied for fiscal year 26, because they've already received their bill and in most cases already paid it, the assistance for this year is in the form of a rebate. So they will receive, or have already received in some cases, either a check or a direct deposit. For next year, the plan is to primarily do the proactive credit on the tax bill.
Okay, and then the remainder of the 4,000, once they get finally approved, they're in process, will they also get a rebate?
That will be a rebate as well, yes.
Okay, all right. Again, standing up, first time effort, so really doing a very, very good job. I appreciate Councilmember Moreno's perspective, given her knowledge of her constituents about how to connect with them. I think that's the biggest challenge we have, is how to connect with people who don't know a program's available, and this is something that can be pretty available to them. There was a comment, I want to make sure people realize SDG&E does not run the CARE program, or they run the CARE program. It is not SDG&E's money. It is ratepayers' money that SDG&E manages on behalf of a statewide public purpose program. No shade on SDG&E, but I didn't want anybody to get confused after yesterday's conversation. And I appreciate the conversation too about the fund balance and keeping an eye and managing on that. At the risk of relitigating, I think about 70 or 80 million that was being taken out of the general fund to run ESD. That no longer is part of the conversation. And I know there's still some folks that believe that private haulers charge less than the city, and I think I know personally that that is not true. We heard a lot of stories about how much people pay for private waste collection that goes above and beyond what the city is actually charging. Nevertheless, we should be sensitive to what constituents have to pay going forward. So with that, again, thank you for the very good work. Thank you for these regular updates about the program and keeping us informed. It's, I think, very helpful to us and to the public. So again, this was an information item and no motion is required. So with that, Deputy Clerk, please reintroduce item 333 and proceed with the tabulated protests.
Item 333 is a collection of solid waste management fees on the county tax roll. Based on information provided by the Environmental Services Department, 112,516 protests would represent 50% plus one of parcels subject to the proposed solid waste management fees. The City Clerk's office received 3 protests against adoption of the written report identifying affected parcels and the solid waste management fees to be charged to each affected parcel on the 2026-2027 county tax bill. Without reviewing or authenticating any protests and assuming that they are all valid and from affected property owners, we can clearly say that the number of protests lodged with the City Clerk's office is clearly below the threshold of 50% plus one. This concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Deputy Clerk. Again, the public hearing portion was closed. We will now take up council members' questions and comments and entertain a motion, and we will start with Council Member Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Council President. I'll move the recommendation here.
All right, and not seeing anybody else in lights, I'll go ahead and second that. I'll leave it at that. Not seeing anybody else, so we have a motion by Council Member Elo Rivera and a second by myself to move the staff recommendation on item 333. Clerk, please call the roll.
I have started the voting system. Please cast your vote. And I will need verbal votes from Councilmember Campbell and Councilmember Whitman, please.
Yes.
That item passes 6-2 with District 5 absent.
All right. With that, Deputy Clerk, please introduce item S505.
Item S505 is the fiscal year 2027 appropriation ordinance.
All right, as you settle yourself in, please introduce yourselves for the record and let us know how much time you need for your presentation.
Good afternoon, Council President LaCava and council members. I'm Benny Italia, Director of Finance. With me today is Amber Gutierrez, Financial Operations Manager. Today we'll be presenting the fiscal year 2027 appropriation ordinance, and we'll need about 5 minutes, please.
All right, when you're ready.
The City Council approved the fiscal year 2027 budget on June 9th, and the Mayor signed the budget resolution on June 11th. The adoption of the appropriation ordinance is the final step in the fiscal year 2027 budget process. As outlined in Charter Section 69, the AO appropriates the budget based on the 2 controlling documents: the salary ordinance, which sets the compensation for city employees, and the budget resolution. And this incorporates the mayor's draft budget as modified by the May revision and the City Council's additional modifications. The purpose of the AO is to define the legal level at which the mayor and the CFO are authorized to control operational and capital project expenditures. Additionally, it facilitates administration of the city's $6.4 billion budget by providing certain delegations of authority to the Chief Financial Officer, and this is mostly for routine non-policy items. Charter Section 69 requires that the City Council adopt the AO by June 30th each year. This year there are 3 requested modifications to the AO. The first is modifying Section 2G2 and adding a new Section 2G4. And this authorizes the CFO to reallocate unobligated CDBG balances to previously council-approved nonprofit facility improvement projects to support timely project completion. This authority is to reallocate funds for completed, canceled, or ineligible CDBG projects to eligible nonprofit facility projects in line with consolidated plan objectives and will assist the city in meeting federal timeliness requirements. Since this item was presented to the Budget and Government Efficiency Committee last week, we worked closely with the Office of the IBA to revise the language to clarify the intent of this section, including that authority to appropriate balances on future activities not previously approved in the annual action plan are subject to council authorization, and all uses of this added authority will be included in the consolidated annual performance and evaluation report each year. The second update authorizes the CFO to accept, appropriate, and expend grants that are awarded to the Office of the City Clerk. The new section improves administrative efficiency for the city clerk's grant-funded projects, and it expands the city's ability to leverage external funding sources. And the third update removes Section 2B8, and this removes the Automated Refuse Container Fund from the Special Revenue Fund section. With the establishment of the Solid Waste Management Fund, this fund will be fully exhausted and closed in fiscal year 2026, and therefore this section is no longer required. And finally, there are minor language updates throughout the document, including updating the fiscal year and the recitals. Included with this item are the fiscal year 2027 operating and capital appropriations, along with the annual change letter, as well as the signed budget resolution. Staff's recommendation is to approve the fiscal year 27 appropriation ordinance. which will codify the adopted budget into law. That concludes our presentation, and we're available for any questions.
All right, thank you for the work and thank you for the presentation. Deputy Clerk, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you. We will begin with in-person public comment. Max Schmidt, please come forward. You will have 2 minutes.
Finalizing this ordinance and finalizing the fiscal year 27 tax limit is a big deal. And I just want to say that I'm opposed to all city tax. One of the things I saw in there was a recycling enterprise fund. And I don't think that money should be taken from the people for the climate agenda hoax that's being pressed. And I just wanted to say that San Diego, in their general fund, has about $2 billion that they get from property sales, cannabis tax. And if that $2 billion, they provide fire and police safety, they operate the parks, they operate the libraries. And I just want to give a first-hand testimony of why I'm opposed to San Diego getting taxes from a homeless person who uses the libraries, uses the parks. And I just wanted to say that I've been harassed by police officers who, believe it or not, this is going to sound crazy, but have actually exposed me to squad cars teleporting in conjunction with my private thoughts, and then literally said to me, police officers tried to scare me saying, "You're getting teleport sex trafficked," which was the stupidest thing in the world, where Freemason Luciferians, like I said, the police exposed me to teleporting and then said you're getting teleport sex trafficked. It's stupid. And then at the library, which taxes go to support the library, I get surrounded by librarians speaking gibberish, trying to make me go insane. And then at the parks, the same thing happens. Park employees will speak gibberish to make me go insane. And then the transit police will also try to make me go insane. So I don't think San Diego should be getting any of our tax dollars.
That does conclude your time. Our next speaker is allegedly Audra.
Is that not funny to anybody else that only 3 people protested? Does that sound like good numbers? Right? Good outreach? I mean, thank God. Anyway, that's just so sad because these people are going to have a rude awakening. Who knows? Just that things change, or that, I mean, sure, it gets less, whatever. Yes, this is interesting. Sean, be creative with less, right? I mean, don't you guys think that you could do that? I think that should be an ordinance that you guys create. You know, I mean, because the mayor, it's like absolute power corrupts, obviously. And then a couple of you guys want to be mayor, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But wouldn't it be good if there was an ordinance for real when we have to do with the budget that it's like, let's see how much we can cut back your funds and see how much you can do with less. And I mean, I'm telling you, you guys get creative, right, Sean? Don't you guys feel like you could do a lot more with less money? I do. I feel like you guys would be very good. And you could do like a competition where you see who, you know, comes up with the best ideas. I'm telling you, I mean, people have to do it out in the public. You could even have a citizen board of people that would come in and be like, this is what we could do with less, and we'll get more with it. I'm telling you, people like on their budget just to go to the grocery store, it's like, then you can't buy organic, but you sure make sure. I mean, I remember being a kid and I was like, I could live off of $20 for a week, and I did it. I mean, it's possible. So I feel like we should be really good stewards of the people's money and seeing what we can do. Again, you guys are going to have to take cuts. You're not going to be able to, you know, wear those fancy suits and ride your electric bikes, but at least the people won't be suffering as much, right? Because you're not going to take as much from us. It'll be good. I think that that should be something you guys work on lickety split, and I know you will.
Thank you. That
good
does
job.
conclude your time. Next speaker is Anthony Rouse.
Good afternoon, City Council. Just wanted to let you know, Kenley, I didn't forget about you. I got you these flowers as well. This is a sign, a gesture of appreciation for the change of position on Flock. It means a lot to us residents in San Diego that you're taking our privacy concerns seriously. And I know that it was within the context of a budget crisis that we're still in. And I know that you explained that given the circumstances, if we could afford everything, you would still prefer to have this type of technology in place. And while that position is hopefully one that you'll reconsider when you reevaluate, when you look into all of the harm that Flock has been causing throughout the city, hopefully that can weigh in on your mindset moving forward. Hopefully it's not just something that's solely predicated upon the fiscal situation that we find ourselves in, which is only going to get worse until we address the root systemic issues of this problem, which is a totally unaccountable police force and a city council, or only half of a city council, that's willing to address that problem. The other half I'm concerned about because they're not making eye contact with me and I'm addressing them, and it looks like they're on their phones right now as I'm speaking to them. And it's disrespectful. And there's a number of council members that aren't even here right now, including Marnie Varn Wilpert. And I know that this is something that's frustrated you, LaCava, as well. You've mentioned it multiple times. It's disrespectful to the people of San Diego, to the constituents. You know, y'all are being paid well, and we spend a lot of our time and a lot of our money to come out here and to have these 2 minutes to be able to address you. And the least that y'all can do is look at us and make eye contact with us, Ms. Campbell, Mr. Whitburn, as we're addressing you directly. Thank you.
Thank you. That does conclude in-person public comment. We will now turn to virtual public comment. I've started the 5-minute timer in the committee room, and there's currently one participant requesting to speak. So we will go to caller with the last 4 digits, 8700. Please begin.
Thank you. First off point for just a few seconds. Thank you, President LaCava, for giving me the clarity on the SDG&E item. That was really appreciated. And then Councilmember Marino, 5 stars for that storytelling. Does everybody notice the power of storytelling? That was an example on the picking up the trash story. That was 5 stars. Okay, so on the item itself, please, let's work on open communication and collaboration between all branches of government. Okay? I think this is a very, very important, it's kind of a dicey item to me for some reason, but I want that kind of improvement. The public really deserves that. Now, on the update with the item involving CDBG, a little concerned on the projects. This goes way back with me when I used to really put time in on that. Some of the projects fail, and I can't remember if the training was inappropriate or the application was inappropriate, but let's make sure that we're handling all those projects for those wonderful people that want to do them. And I think a lot of them are low-income people having a dream to come true. So I don't know exactly how I'm saying that in the right way, but if I'm helping, I hope so. And then one thing, I hope we have time to read this. This is Department of Finance. The whole thing is a quote. As the city continues to address the structural budget deficit, the importance of maintaining cash reserves to strengthen the city's fiscal position and effectively manage potential future economic downturns has never been more critical. Thank you, Department of Finance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes public testimony on item S505.
All right, thank you, Deputy Clerk. We'll now turn it over to council members for questions, comments, entertain a motion, and we'll start with the Chair of the Budget Committee, Council Member Foster.
Yes, thank you, Council President, and Rolando, thank you for the presentation, and thank you for addressing the CDBG item our discussion at committee. So with that, I will move staff's recommendation.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. So we have a motion by Councilmember Foster to move the recommendation. We'll go next to Councilmember Campillo.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to our Department of Finance and our City Attorney's Office for the good work on this. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Foster, a second by Councilmember Campillo to move the staff recommendation. And I'll just quickly add my thanks for the good work. I know there's a lot that goes into this. And responding to Councilmember Foster's concern, the CBDG are a tricky thing. You all do a great job of navigating the challenges associated with that. So with that, again, we have a motion by Councilmember Foster, a second by Councilmember Campillo. Deputy Clerk, call the roll.
I have set up the voting system. Please cast your vote, and I will need a verbal vote from Councilmember Campbell and Councilmember Whitmer.
Campbell, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously with Council District 5 absent.
Yeah. So that's 8-1. 8 yeses, noes, and 1 absent. So
correct, yes.
We'll get it. Look at it today. Anyway, with that, Deputy Clerk, please introduce item 332.
Item 332 is the fiscal year 2027 tax appropriations limit, the GAN limit.
With that, staff, please introduce yourself again for this item and let us know how much time you need.
Good afternoon, Council President McCobb and council members. I'm Ben Natalia, Director of Finance, and with me is Amber Gutierrez, Financial Operations Manager. We're here today to present the fiscal year 2027 tax appropriations limit, also known as the GAN limit, and we'll need about 4 minutes.
All right, when you're ready.
In November of 1979, California voters approved Proposition 4, also known as the GAN Initiative. This legislation requires a governing body of each local jurisdiction in California to establish a tax appropriations limit. And this is a restriction on the amount of tax revenue that can be appropriated in any fiscal year. Local jurisdictions can choose among 4 adjustment factors, which includes measures of inflation and population growth, to compute the final adjustment factor. The measures for inflation or price factors include growth in California per capita income or growth in the city's gross assessed valuation due to new non-residential construction, while measures for population growth include population growth within the county or the city. Revenues subject to the limit consist of tax proceeds and state subventions. Tax proceeds include property tax, sales tax, transient occupancy tax, and other local taxes. As a result, not all city revenues are included in this calculation. The tax appropriations limit must be established on or before June 30th each fiscal year for the following fiscal year. The fiscal year 27 GAN limit calculation verifies that appropriations are below the limit. In accordance with Proposition 111 guidelines, the fiscal year 2027 tax appropriations limit was calculated by adjusting the prior year's tax appropriations limit using one of 4 annual adjustment factors. The recommended fiscal year 27 adjustment factor uses the percent change in assessed valuation in new non-residential construction and the population factor based on the percent growth in the city's population. And this results in an adjustment factor of 1.1168, or 11.68%. The adjustment factor is then applied to the previous year's appropriations limit of $6.29 billion, resulting in a fiscal year 27 tax appropriations limit of $7.03 billion. And again, this is an 11.68% increase over the fiscal year 26 tax appropriations limit. I will note the fiscal year 26 tax appropriations limit was revised from $6.24 billion to $6.29 billion following receipt of a revised report from the county, which made a correction to the city's assessed valuation of non-residential construction from the prior year. And this revision has no impact on the city's compliance with the tax appropriations limit. The fiscal year 27 tax appropriations limit is calculated to be $7.03 billion. The total adjusted appropriations subject to this limit for fiscal year 27 is $1.71 billion. As a result, the fiscal year 27 tax appropriations are projected to be below the limit by $5.32 billion. Staff's recommendation is to approve the resolution to establish a tax appropriations limit of $7.03 billion for fiscal year 27. That concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you for the presentation and the work. I'll now turn it over to the Office of the IBA for comments.
Great, thank you, Council President and Council members, and thank you, Ben, for the presentation. So this is really a routine item that we take up every year, but it is worth taking a moment to talk about what the GAM limit tells us about the city's overall level of resources. As you heard, the GAM limit was established by a 1979 statewide measure that was implemented in 1980, and it set a cap on the total amount of tax revenue that the state, as well as any local government in the state, can appropriate, and it tied that cap to actual tax appropriations in 1979. Again, as you heard, the limit can be adjusted each year by using several factors: growth in income, growth in non-residential assessed value, growth in the population of the city or the county. And this was done to recognize that inflation exists and that cities grow, but still with the underlying intention of holding tax revenue near or below those 1979 levels. The adjustments to the GAM limit that you just heard would bring the city's limit to just over $7 billion. Our actual tax revenue that is subject to the GAM limit for the upcoming fiscal year is estimated at $1.7 billion. This tells us something about our resources. Now, this will be inexact because the city's economy does not precisely track the 4 adjustment factors, and the city generally uses the largest possible factor when it's recalculating its GAM limit. But as a very rough shorthand, the $5.3 billion difference between our actual tax revenues and the updated GAM limit illustrate that if the city's tax revenues had simply kept pace since 1980 with growth in income, property values, and population, the city would be collecting roughly 4 times the tax revenue that it does today. And this gap is one of the real reasons that the investments the city made in its operations and infrastructure 45 years ago were in many cases significantly larger than the investments that it can make now. Now, the constraints on the city's resources are not caused by the GAM limit. They are instead the result of how the city raises money and what voters are willing to approve. But this annual item is a useful reminder of the gap between what the city once invested in itself and what it can afford to invest today. And this should also complicate any notion that the city's current budget issues are simply the result of overspending. Instead, the larger part of that story is that tax revenues have not kept pace with growth of the city or with the cost of and demands for programs and infrastructure in the city. We've just moved past the adoption of a difficult budget, but it is worth keeping this gap in mind as we move through the rest of the year and continue to have discussions about the programs and policies that this council would like to pursue. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, Charles. Always appreciate your perspective. And with that, Deputy Clerk, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you, Council President. We will begin with in-person public comment. Next, Schmidt, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to speak.
I just want to say I was at City Hall when they had the fiscal year 2027 budget finalized, and it was a big crowded day at City Hall, and then now we have these final 2 ordinances finalizing it again. And then I just want to say that it's very interesting to me that after the it's finalized and we have the tax revenue is stated at $1.7 billion. It's very, item 332, the GAN limit, is very interesting to me. And the reason why is because it's just this kind of random number of $7 billion, and there are $5 billion underneath that. And I just want to say it's just kind of interesting to have this information item right after everything is finalized to say, oh, by the way, there's a limit to how much revenue we can make, and it's $7 billion, when the revenue is only $1.7 billion. And the reason it's interesting to me is the Chinese Communist Party has something called 10-year and 20-year plans laid out. And to me, it almost reminds me of something that the Chinese Communist Party would do as a 10-year plan. And the GAN limit presentation even said that revenues are not keeping up with city growth, and they want revenues to be higher. And I just can't imagine the financial hardship the people of San Diego would have if the GAN limit was reached this year, and we actually had $7 billion in revenue, all taxed. It just almost seems like a very interesting thing to have this random GAN limit after the budget's finalized. It almost seems like a plan of sorts to try to increase $7 billion.
That does conclude your time. Allegedly, Audra.
This surely is interesting. Never really understood it before. You get really good education coming to meetings like this. That's why people should pay attention. But it's interesting that you set the limit of like how much you guys can spend. Like, what if your children were like, I'm going to tell you how much you can spend on me, and it's like $1 billion, and you better spend it. And if you don't, you better give me that money back. You know, because you guys, it's like, obviously you're going to come in below that, but it makes it look good that like we're coming in below our limit. And it's just interesting to see the way the government works, how it's like, you know, you set your policies and like you want to keep people in compliance with your policies, but it doesn't really matter if they break the law. It's like you can break the law, but just follow the policy. And like we'll do all this nonsense to pretend like we're holding people accountable. It's just, you know, but when you're setting your own limits, I mean, like you're going to set it to a place where you're going to exceed it. I mean, obviously you wouldn't, that would be stupid. I mean, but it's also sad to see, you know, people come in and give you guys, you know, accolades and appreciation for votes. And, you know, I'm used to you guys not looking. It's like, it's fine. I mean, and Joe, I do appreciate, even though half the time your faces are kind of funny, but you're not on your phone. You know, you're sometimes I feel like you're in La La Land. It's okay, but you're you know, listening, which you can get into that mode. But it's like, I mean, if you guys treated if your staff treated you this way, if your staff, while you were talking to them, was looking down on their phone, you would fire them immediately. You wouldn't put up with it. But yet, people, we pay your paycheck, and you guys can't even give people the courtesy of even saying thank you for something like that. I mean, he didn't have to do that. He spent his own money doing it, and just the fact that you guys don't even acknowledge it just shows kind of where we're at.
I have started the 5-minute timer in the committee room. We will now turn to the virtual queue, in which there are currently just one participant requesting to speak. So we will begin with caller with the last 4 digits, 8700. Please begin.
Thank you. Excuse me, Deputy City Clerk, 2 minutes?
Yes, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Joy Sunyata, I've never spoken on this item. And I wasn't going to speak, so this is off the top of my head. And what made me press *9 is our IBA, our great IBA, Monica speaking. And he spoke beautifully. I want to add to it, because we have a structural budget deficit. And it does involve overspending. And it's out of balance. And it's replicating itself for, 20 or more years. And we're like a gerbil stuck on a wheel going round and round and round and round again. And I'm looking forward to speaking with all of you, maybe tomorrow if I get energy, about a time of reckoning, which has to do with the people who didn't vote on the sales tax measures, the recent one. And we need to listen to them, because they're telling us we're not spending our money correctly. We are overspending. I know it's more complicated than that. But I just thank you, IBA Monica. That was beautifully said. But I think we need to tweak it a little bit. And I really, there's a great article from the UT on, it's got the word reckoning in it for our city. And the people are saying no to our things. So I'm going to really try to work on that for tomorrow. Anyway, thank you for listening. Always a great day. We have one more. Love to all.
Thank you. That concludes public testimony on item 332.
All right, thank you, Deputy Clerk. With that, we'll turn it over to the council members for questions, comments, and entertain a motion. And we'll start with Council Member Campillo.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to the members of the public for their participation on this item. I'll move approval of staff's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Campillo. We'll go next to Councilmember Foster. A second by Councilmember Foster. So we do have a motion by Councilmember Campillo, a second by Councilmember Foster. The only thing I'll throw in that the gallon limit, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was actually a voter approved. So we're just following the voter approved measure.
That's correct.
It's probably like 218. There's a lot of reasons to be a little frustrated by it, but until there's a new vote and repositioning that legislation, we just have to follow that. So, all right, we have a motion by Councilmember Campillo and a second by Councilmember Foster. I think as you've seen, we have a little glitch in the voting system and the tally system. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
And was that a no, Councilmember Moreno? No.
It was me.
See, I am paying attention to the audience. So that passes 8-0 with District 5 absent. Deputy Clerk, please introduce item 331.
Thank you, Council President. Item 331 is the fiscal year 2027 tax rate ordinance for the maintenance of zoological exhibits. This item is not subject to the mayor's veto.
All right, thank you for that. So we have the same staff, but please introduce yourself for this item and let us know how much time you need.
Good afternoon, Council President Joe LaCava and council members. I'm Ambar Gutierrez, Financial Operations Manager with the Department of Finance, and with me is Ben Battaglia, Director of Finance. We are here to present the fiscal year 2027 tax rate ordinance. We'll need about 3 minutes.
All right, when you're ready.
The tax rate ordinance establishes a tax levy for the maintenance of zoological exhibits in accordance with Section 75 of the City Charter, which requires the adoption of an annual tax levy by ordinance. Approval of this ordinance also ensures compliance with the filing requirements and deadline established by the county auditor and comptroller, which mandates submission no later than the last day of August of each year. This levy was originally approved in 1934 when San Diego voters approved Section 77DA of the City Charter to levy an annual property tax of 2 cents per $100 of assessed value to be used exclusively for the maintenance of zoological exhibits in Balboa Park. In 1981, the California Revenue and Taxation Code's definition of the assessed valuation on which property taxes are levied was changed from 25% of a property's value to 100% of a property's value. In order to translate Charter's Section 77A's tax rates to the new definition, a conversion factor of 1/4 was applied to the zoological exhibit's tax rate, changing the levy from 2 cents per $100 of assessed value to ½ cent per $100 of assessed value. Since then, the tax rate has remained unchanged. For fiscal year 2027, the Zoological Exhibits Maintenance Fund is budgeted at approximately $22.8 million for revenues and expenditures, and is based on the calculation of ½ cent per every $100 of assessed value. This amount is an estimate based on the city's fiscal year 2027 property tax budget. Each year, the city transfers the actual property tax revenues collected by the county for this purpose. The $22.8 million represents only a portion of the total cost of maintenance for zoological exhibits. The remaining costs are funded through zoo operations and support from members, donors, and guests. Staff's recommendation is to approve the fiscal year 2027 tax rate ordinance, levying a property tax of ½ cent per $100 of assessed value to be used exclusively for the maintenance of zoological exhibits in Balboa Park in compliance with Charter Section 75 and the county auditor and comptroller's requirements. That concludes our presentation. We're available for any questions.
All right, thank you for the work and thank you for the presentation. Deputy Clerk, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you, Council President. Max Schmidt will begin with in-person comment. Max Schmidt, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to speak.
Increasing the tax to 5 cents for every $100 of the $22 million in maintenance revenue seems unnecessary. And I just wanted to say that earning taxes off of San Diego's amazing zoo also seems unnecessary. I think with the $2 billion in taxes that San Diego has to spend, maybe they could try to make the zoo more affordable or even free. I know St. Louis, Missouri has a free zoo and it's very popular. And I just wanted to also say that I've mentioned this a lot already, but I'm against the city of San Diego getting any tax dollars from the people, whether it's through the zoo's maintenance fee or whether it's through property or sales tax. And the reason why is because there is serious criminal illegal activity that falls under city sponsored and state sponsored. And what that is people being paid tax dollars, like staff at homeless shelter, police officer, transit authority on the trolley, whoever's running the trolley intercom, are actually harassing Catholics. And what they do is they speak constant, bizarre, strange, half gibberish, half reading your mind. I know it sounds crazy, but they're telepathic from doing Hermetic chants in the Masonic Lodge, and people who are getting paid tax dollars are actually trying to drive Catholics either to suicide or drug addiction, and there's a genocide happening.
Thank you. That does conclude your time. Allegedly, Audra.
Poor Vivian got thrown under the bus. Why not call out Jennifer? You didn't think it was her? Yeah. This is interesting. That's, I mean, a half a cent, you get $22 million, almost 23. I feel like that should give us a free pass to go to the zoo when they're getting that much money from the people. And is this countywide or is this just in the city? Is this just city property? Yeah, that's interesting. That's a lot of money. And those people still have to pay to go to the zoo. And I'm wondering, because it's like nobody really keeps up with their maintenance. How do we know that this is going towards their maintenance, really? I mean, do we know that? Is there any kind of checks and balances to be sure? We just give it to them and say, it's out of our hands, right? Is that how it works? I guess so. I mean, that's the way it seems. That's the way the government works. We contract with you. We did our part. We followed the policy. We created a bike lane. Yeah, it cost like $13 million and it goes to nowhere, but we did what we were supposed to do. So again, it's like until people are gonna like go to the zoo for free, I mean, $22 million, and plus we're like holding animals in captivity. I always hated that as a kid, like going and watching these animals. I mean, they say they save them, but it's like, is it really? I mean, because like out in their own habitat, they don't really do those things, but it's like, you know, wild horses, Mustangs. I had a couple of those ones. So sad. They're like $50. You can't even like sell them for that much because they're wild horses. Anyway, yeah, so I just like to see some kind of, you know, audit to make sure that this money is going towards maintenance and how much more they're like requiring from the people. I'd also like to request an audit on flock. So if we could do that as well, that would be good.
Thank you. That does conclude your time. Our next speaker is Anthony Rouse.
I think I'm in favor of this tax, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if the zoo is a private corporation and if they're getting public subsidy. If so, then it probably, I don't know if this tax is justified. They do bring in a lot of people. They are like a world famous San Diego Zoo, right? So I guess there could be a justification for it. But the not knowing that distinction makes it difficult formulate a fully educated opinion. So I think I'm in favor of it. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you. That does conclude in-person public comment. I've started the 5-minute timer in the committee room, and we will now turn to the virtual queue, where there is one speaker requesting to speak. Hector, please begin your comments.
Having grown up there, I've been to the zoo a lot of times as a kid. I think we should sunset this thing, and so the San Diego city could, with the zoo, when it first started, to get everything going. But now the zoo is in great hands. There's a lot of entrepreneurs there, a lot of people donate. It's top of the line, and we should almost charge them $20 million, like rent or something, because they have all sorts of things going on, and we don't need to subsidize them. We got $20 million we could spend on so many other things, and we could charge them maybe $1 million rent.
Yeah.
Because I think we own the property, but it's probably its own corporation or however it works, the zoo works, but all the big time guys in the zoo, this is just an extra, this is almost mayonnaise. If they got the mayonnaise, it would still be a good sandwich. They're not hurting for money, but they're getting a parking revenue now, so who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, we should move to sunset this. Politically, it might be a no-no for you guys, but we'll spend the money down in Barrio Logan, man, setting up a lot of stuff down there, parks down there, and give the money to all sorts of different things we could do. And it would make a positive impact in a lot of different places. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. We have the next speaker is a caller with the last 4 digits, 8700. Please begin your comments.
Thank you, Joy Fanyata. Council Member Foster III, would you listen up on this item, please? We have a world-class zoo, there's no doubt about it. And on another item this year, last year, we were told and we knew how great they are and how they improved, and the executives and everything have done great. And, so out of the 5 stars, which I think is the best, sometimes I give a plus more, but out of the 5 stars, they only get 4 from me. And the reason for that is there's a question mark on the 5th star, and that is how they treat their employees. And I don't know, excuse me if I stumble on this, with the EOC and the workforce report, I Googled back away a year or 2 ago, I Googled how they treat their employees, and I got awful negativity stuff. And I just, it frightened me. It just shocked me. So I just would like to shine a light there, Councilmember Foster III, and make sure that I can, that I'm wrong, that I had to get that off my chest. I wasn't going to speak on this item. I was sort of waiting for Mr. Stump to speak. So I feel better that I put that out there. I hope it's wrong, but if these people, the employees are doing the maintenance, we've got to treat them 5 stars. So please check on that. And it's been a great day. And thank you so much for listening. Love to you.
Thank you. That concludes public testimony on item 331.
All right, thank you, Deputy Clerk. With that, we'll turn it over to council members, questions, comments, entertain a motion. And we'll start with Council Member Whitburn.
Thank you, Council President. 92 years ago, San Diego residents voted to enact this property tax to help maintain the exhibits at the zoo. Whenever voters pass a property tax for a specific purpose, the funds have to be used for that purpose and only that purpose. In this case, the funds must be used for the exhibits at the zoo. San Diego Zoo is a point of pride for our city. It's the reason many tourists visit our city. A lot of the people who work at the zoo have worked there for decades and speak very highly of their experience. Many of them are represented by the Teamsters Union. I very much appreciate the zoo's long-standing partnership with the city, and I'm happy to move the staff recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Whitburn, and we'll next go to Councilmember Campillo.
Happy to second, Council President.
All right, a little quick on that. I don't see anybody else on the lights. And so we're going to do a voice vote again. We have a motion by Councilmember Whitburn and a second by Councilmember Campillo to move the staff recommendation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays?
I'll keep it quiet.
That passes 8-0 with District 5 absent. That brings us to the end of our agenda. We will now adjourn council to the next regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday, June 29th, 2026 at 10 a.m. And I am confident we will be back in chambers.
Yeah, actually, I was going to try technical stuff, but I'm just like.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
Sorry we made you sit here all
and the gratitude streaming and recording on the back of I don't know. I can't give you yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. Yeah, instead of like no, totally. So, and it says they do have a separate recording system that captures the meeting in its entirety and is currently being uploaded into Granite to replace the abbreviated versions. City council meetings have never been edited and never will be. They've taken measures on their end to ensure that, that they prevent back users from occurring and to ensure that we always upload our
So would it have been known if I mentioned it, or would that have been known? In terms of saying that
it's like
they would
the
upload
replacement.
the replacement, but it's like, does somebody go make sure that there's nothing wrong, so then you would put the replacement?
So I know on our end, I'm not going to speak for them on our end, we review everything because we tag things, right? And then we review everything to make sure that, like everything's consistent. So on our end, it's intact. And then we also so I will connect you with the program. This one was because he was the person that responded to me was just like a person. Maybe he was in the office, so she's trying to get.
Yeah, well, that way I can ask them and I don't have to go hey.
Yeah, no, for sure. And honestly, and just like pure transparency, I had mentioned that you had asked, and the questions was what happens to the feed, recording or stream continue in the back end, how was the live feed transferred or connected to the video system Granicus, does the system automatically capture the feed, are city council meeting videos edited, if so, how? And so I will.
Because I know, even with mine, there will be glitches in the stream.
Yeah.
But I record on my phone, so it will if the stream cuts on my live, wherever it is, it'll show glitches. And so people will be like, "Oh, you cut it," and I'm like, "No, I didn't." So I mean, I understand there's problems that occur, but when the stream comes up like that, it just makes me wonder.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Is there something in place that has that happen in the back end if the stream does go out, right? So you don't just have a black screen. It's going to probably trigger. But I'm just curious, what does he mean by user error as well? So.
And then we have your email address.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you my phone number.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Radio voice.
Cousin Bill's right today.
And I will,
Me too.
okay.
Thank you for also pointing that out.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. I was trying to get
I
you
know,
over
Jim
there
told me,
and
yeah.
you were speaking.
Yeah,
So
no,
when I was like, I'm not gonna.
No, but I appreciate
Okay,
you
thank you
pointing
for
that out and not like, you know, disagree. Because it's important, you know. and
No,
I-
it is, it
It's
is.
good to like figure out how it works
Yeah.
as well. So then it's like, you know, because I mean, I know even like the county, like even mine, once it's done on YouTube, it automatically uploads. So it's like I don't have any control over it. It goes up with whatever it is. So I know that, and with the county, if it does go up to a live page, it is uploaded automatically. It'd be different if it was a video.
Yeah.
You can edit those videos
Sure,
and upload
yeah.
it.
I see what
But
you're
it
saying.
happens automatically in a live. So it's like when people say they can edit, I'm like, you can't edit a live. I mean, technically, if you're sitting there, if I was sitting there and I was
And
doing
doing it.
something, right?
Yeah,
But
well,
like, you have to sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't, yeah.
I see what you're saying.
You know, so
Okay, okay. I'm not
it's a lot of technical stuff too that like you don't know until you know or do it. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah.
Like I help
It's-
with this once in a while, and not here
Yeah,
all the time.
no, but
Okay,
appreciate
I
it
will-
so much.
I will make
Thank
sure
you.
I have this.
Okay, great.
We'll let you get someone to
Yes, thank you.
contact him.
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate you following.
Yeah, thank you.
We're not done, we gotta test the system next door.
All right, never a dull moment. Stay classy, San Diego. We'll be back for the Board of Supervisors tomorrow and Thursday. It's weird they changed their days, but luckily for the city now I get to come to all Tuesday meetings. Anyway, God bless you guys. Stay classy. See you tomorrow.